So what we like to do is stretch and work on some Eastern philosophy and meditation at the same time. Today we're analyzing the book Tao of Jeet Kune. We're on page number 53. What I'm going to do, I'm going to read a quote from the book. If there's any reflection that you have, you can provide it. Or if you have any questions, you could ask it. If not, then you just stay silent. Kinesthetic perception should be developed to such a degree that the body is uncomfortable unless it performs such each motion with a minimum of effort to produce maximum results. Applied to pressure posture 2.
Reflection on that?
Yes.
I think what that Tao is describing is, well, obviously economy of movement, but that also means in some of the, like the drills you give us, we sometimes don't have to use full force, but we do have to use a committed movement, but still economize in everything to conserve energy. Fight longer, live longer.
This one here again. Economy of motion. There is the best way to perform any task. A few of the principles that have been found to be of importance in improving performance are as follows. Momentum should be employed to overcome resistance. Momentum should be reduced to a minimum if it is must be overcome by muscular effort. Continuous curved motions require less effort than straight line motions involving sudden and sharp changes in direction.
Reflect on that?
Yeah.
I like the part where you're talking about momentum against resistance, like instead of trying to just overpower something with muscle, you're using pretty much science to your advantage. Like with most martial arts, like the most effective stuff is described, from what I've heard, like a ball with a chain on it. And the chain is, flexible and all that stuff, but when the ball hits you with the momentum, it comes crashing. Versus, something like somebody trying to bench press or just he-man their way through a situation. You can use momentum where you can hit something with like your whole body weight instead of just using like your bicep, one muscle.
reflection.
Yes.
I like the point that straight line angular movements consume more energy than, arcing or circular movements. And that would, that's going to be an important play for your strategy. Ultimately conserving energy.
It says continuous curved motions require less effort than straight line motions involving sudden and sharp changes in direction. So just think about it, like it's a sharp turn, so you're going straight and all of a sudden you gotta turn that way. That's gonna require more effort than if you just round it off like this. You see that? Where you just kind of cut the corner. So you're turning like here, opposed to boom and then boom. So you're saying like you kind of curve it. So then like there's a certain, like if you do like curved motions, it's gonna be less effort than if you just go straight and then straight and then straight and then straight,
Reflection?
Yes.
I think, and that's because of the deceleration, not the acceleration. So that's also where you have a chance to injure yourself when you have to decelerate too quickly. It's like when you're hiking up a hill. I like to hike, and you go up, it's easy. Going down, it's that deceleration that can actually be very hard on you. So same kind of idea when you're switching directions.
Yes, very much so. When the initiating muscles are unopposed, allowing free and smooth motion, the movements are faster, easier, and more accurate than restricted or controlled movements. Work arranged to permit any uneasy and natural rhythm is conducted to smooth and automatic performance. Hesitation or the temporary and often minute cessation of motion should be eliminated from the performance. So, summary, just do not hesitate when you're sparring. That's what number 6 is saying. Hesitation is that's like the telegraph. So as soon as you hesitate and the person goes straight into it, then they just they strike you while you're in hesitation, so don't hesitate. And remain relaxed, that's the basic concept number 4. Relaxed and free, so we're stretching right now to help you relax. Don't be tense. If you're tense, then it's going to make you slower and you're going to waste more energy, so you got to learn how to relax. Think of easy and natural. Easy, natural, and smooth. So it's like an automatic performance, so it's just something that it just comes easy, natural, smooth, graceful. That's like the concept of number 5. It is alright to change one's style to adapt to various circumstances, but remember not to change your basic form. By changing style, I mean switching your plan of attack. Don't change your basic form, meaning don't forget about the science of combat. You know what I mean? Like, if you understand the science and you try to break the rules, you get yourself in trouble. So don't change the basic form. but you can still adapt your method of attack. Good form may be defined as the particular technique which enables the individual to obtain maximum efficiency in the activity.
Can you recite that again? I'm sorry.
Good form may be defined as the particular technique which enables the individual to obtain maximal efficiency in the activity. So, boils down to, if you're talking about sparring, combat, you should not be wasting energy. If you're wasting energy, you don't got good form. So he's telling you to be completely efficient with the least amount of energy to accomplish your goal, which is pretty much to overtake the person that's trying to hurt you, to defend yourself or the opponent or whatever. Balance too is vital to good form. Whether it be a kick or a punch that you are throwing, you will not have sustained power unless your balance and perfect timing give you enough leverage. So that's balance too, is why we do a lot of stance training to build strong legs, so you get good balance, so you get grounded. And it's going to be a challenge to deliver kicks with power, because usually you can have less balance. You will have less balance when you're on one foot. So it's going to take time to develop. First, develop balance when you're on 2 feet, and then develop balance when you're on 1 foot. So part of the type form that I train, a majority of it is developing balance for a strong foundation. Part 1 of the tiger form, and then part 3 is when we start working on the kicks. So then we're trying to develop balance with kicks as well. But balance, when he's talking about balance, he's talking about your legs and being grounded. So we gotta take time to develop that. Above all things, remember this: if you tighten up, you lose the flexibility and timing which are so important to successful fighters. Therefore, consciously practice economical neuromuscular perceptive movements daily and keep relaxed at all times.
Yeah, reflect on that.
Yes.
I mean, just to sum it up, it sounds like less is more. Get the most out of every movement. Use momentum, use the science of fighting to your advantage, the leverage of it, and make it to where it's you're not even almost trying.
Yes. Vision awareness. Learning great speed and visual recognition is a basic beginning. Your training should include short, concentrated daily practice and seeing quickly awareness drills. So, right there, gets me to think about focus mitts, training with focus mitts. As soon as they flash the mitt, you learn to hit it quick. So that's a visual right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awareness. High levels of perceptual speed are the product of learning, not of inheritance. So you're saying you're not born with it. It's something that you gotta train in to get better at.
This is speed he's talking about?
It's talking about seeing something and then responding.
Okay, so reaction.
So you see an opening, you go for it. You see it, you go for it. You know, so safe sparring will help that, and then focus mitt drills could help that. But it's just like seeing something responding. Even when you're driving a car, like look at the red. As soon as it turns green, boom, just go. You know, like don't lag, just go bam. Like, don't beat you off the line.
I will attest to that.
So like that's a visual right there. Like that's part of that could be part of your training. You know, it's like every time you drive, just like be attentive, be alert. You know, like just see it go, see it go. So you see it, you press on the gas pedal. Same thing with sparring. You see it opening, boom, you just do a back fist. He left his temple open, bam, just hit him right there. You know, like you gotta respond with your body, and it comes from the visual. Because if you have your eyes closed, you can't see the openings. Open your eyes, see what's going on, respond, and have your body respond. But if you're late, if you're not flexible, for example, you're not fast, you see an opening that you can reach with your foot, but then your foot can't reach it. It's not something wrong with your vision. It's your physical that's lacking the ability to respond because your body's not doing what you want it to do. But it doesn't mean that your visual is weak. It just means your physical needs to be up to par with where your visual is. And that's part of the problem. Like even someone like Michael Jordan, I'm sure mentally he's there, but physically he's not. So that's why he has to be retired, you know. So the whole objective is to keep doing all this physical training so then your body responds immediately when you tell it to respond. But if you just can't see, if your eyes are closed, if you're sleeping, there's nothing to respond to because you're asleep. Just don't be asleep. You have to be attentive. A boy who is a little slow in reaction time or in speed of delivery may compensate for this slowness through quick seeing. So he's saying, you might be a little out of shape, you might, you know, have slow reaction time, but you are quick at seeing, and then you make up for those weaknesses through quick seeing. Like you see something quicker than somebody else. Like say for example, like we're in here, we're drawing our gun, and then I time you, and you're like the best at drawing the gun as quick as everybody else. But then we're at the restaurant, somebody walks in with the gun and you don't see it before somebody else sees it. And the person that draws slower drew his gun first and he lived to protect himself. But then you died because you didn't see the other person had a gun walking into the restaurant. So that's the example of like quick seeing versus like fast reaction time. So you can make up for your slow reaction time through quick seeing. Just basically being more aware. Like, if you're more meditative, but you're not that fast, you can still have an advantage because you're more meditative, you're more aware than the person who's very fast, but he's not meditative. Speed of perception is somewhat affected by the distribution of the observer's attention. Fewer separate choices, faster action. When the cue to be recognized is likely to be one of several, each of which requires a different response, the time is lengthened. Choice reaction takes longer than simple reaction. This is the basis for training the tools in terms of neurophysiological adjustment toward instinctive economy. Instinctive movement, being the simplest, is the quickest and most accurate.
Reflection?
Yes.
It's like you have a strategy, but sometimes you can get in, strategy can get in the way because you're trying to do too much. And so you're creating choices and pathways when in fact it's much better to have just a simple approach that you go to, which hopefully is ingrained through repetition.
Yes. So let's think about it like this. If you're a police officer or you're somebody that has a gun carrying out there concealed, and your reaction is just to draw your gun and point and shoot, that's the simplest, the quickest. That's why the police officers always go to the guns. But if you got a gun, or say, okay, you got a gun, you got a baton, you got a taser, you got your, all these punches and kicks, the more choices you have, and then you're trying to decide what to use at what moment, the slower your response. Because then you're like, oh, should I use the gun or should I use the taser? Should I use the taser or should I use the baton? Or should I use the sword? Or should I use the nunchuck? Or should I use the kick? So basically, Bruce is always about simplicity. So if you're talking about unarmed combat, you know, the more choices you have, like the more techniques, it slows you down. Because then if you start thinking about which technique I should use over what, that's slowing you down. But if it's very simple and instinctive, then less choices, then it changes, it makes the response time less response time, so it's quicker. So don't overcomplicate the simple. You know, like certain things that you don't need, get rid of it. You know, stick to the basics. Progression from volition to reflex control is when an athlete's awareness is shifted from the small details, mechanical performance, to larger ones, and finally to the whole action without a thought given to any single part. The habit of diffusing the attention over a wider area helps the offensive passer to see openings more quickly. For most rapid perception, attention must be at its maximum focus on the area of the thing to be perceived. Get set takes advantage over an opponent who lacks this get-set preparation.
Can you elaborate on that very last line?
Yeah.
Get set takes advantage over an opponent who lacks this get-set preparation. So, maximum focus on the area of the thing to be perceived. So you're sparring against one person, you know you're sparring against one person, put your attention to that one person, but all his movements. Don't just focus on just one area. Don't just look at his feet. Don't just look at his hands. Don't just look at his stomach. Look at his whole being. But see the whole, everything that's going on. Then you're like ready. You know, but if you're fighting against more than one person, then your attention will have to go onto however many people there are that you got to fight. So then there's two people, you got to be attentive to both of them now. You know. If it's a real life situation, then you probably will have to be attentive to the entire environment, because you don't know this person that you're fighting has a friend that's going to jump in. The person that you're fighting might have a weapon, or just other people around. You draw out your gun, and you got to watch out for bystanders that are not involved in the confrontation. You don't want to accidentally shoot and kill somebody else that's not involved. So he's talking about attention and being ready. Must be at its maximum focus in the area of the thing to be perceived. So whatever the threat is at that moment, you put your attention to that. Experiments indicate the auditory cues, when occurring close to the athlete, are responded to more quickly than usual ones. Make use of auditory cues together with visual cues if possible. Remember, however, the focus of attention on general movement produces faster action than focus on hearing or seeing the cue. Train yourself to cut down unnecessary choice reactions. Minimize yourself naturally while giving your opponent a variety of possible responses. A good man is continually trying to force his opponent into the slower choice reaction situation.
I like to reflect on that last part. It kind of gets to remind me of just sports in general. The offense versus the defense, and usually with defense, they try to make the offense uncomfortable. Whatever you're trying to do, I'm going to try to make you do something else. So it's like the same thing with the martial arts. Like, alright, you're trying to do the most effective or like fastest thing, like a straight punch. And I'm going to make you do something else other than that. Just to make it harder for you.
Yeah, reflection. Yeah, I agree with that. It's like get your opponent complicated and then keep your economy of motion to yourself. Form follows function.
Strategies of distracting attention. Fakes and feints are athletic devices to direct the opponent's attention and to make him hesitate before he can be sure of his cue to act. Of course, an additional advantage is gained if the opponent can be induced to make a preliminary motion in an appropriate direction. The offensive opponent who can hit or kick only from one side permits the defensive opponent the faster action of a one-sided focus of attention. A person reacts to a quick motion toward his eyes by instinctively blinking. Such instinctive blinking must be controlled in practice, or else the opponent, if aware that the fighter closes his eyes when threatened, may provoke this reaction and utilize the moment of blindness for a hit or kick. Central vision means that the eyes and attention are fixed on one point. In peripheral vision, although the eyes are fixed on one point, the attention is expanded to a larger field. Central vision may be thought of as being sharp and clear, while peripheral vision is more diffuse. In combat, the student must learn to expand his attention over the entire area by making full use of his peripheral vision. Exercise. The teacher extends his index finger and instructs his student to concentrate on the point of the finger. He then begins moving the index finger of his other hand into the student's field of vision and slowly describes letters and numerals with it. The student should be able to expand his attention sufficiently to recognize the figures without changing the focus of his eyes. The field of vision is enlarged by distance and diminished at close range. Also, it is generally easier to follow the opponent's footwork than his handwork, since the foot moves relatively slowly compared to the more rapidly moving hand. Types of speed: perceptual speed, quickness of eye to see openings and to discourage the opponent. Confusing him is slowing him down. 2. Mental speed. Quickness of mind to select the right move to frustrate and counter the opponent. Initiation speed. Economical, starting from the right posture with the correct mental attitude. Performance speed. Quickness of movement in carrying the chosen move into effect. Involves actual muscle contraction speed. Alteration speed. The ability to change direction midstream. Involves control of balance and inertia. Use small, basic bent knee stance. Okay, let's get